Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report as we will break down the 2022 Cleveland Browns NFL Draft Class. It is in the books. We are all done from Vegas, and now we're going to hand some grades out because everyone wants to know how your team fared at the NFL Draft. Let's revisit all the picks the Browns made just to refresh our memory. Got to go all the way back to early Friday night. Martin Emerson, corner out of Mississippi State, goes to the Browns at pick 68 after trading back with the Texans. Another Texans trade from 44 to 68. Then Alex Wright, edge rusher from UAB, followed by David Bell, a wide receiver out of Purdue. Perrion Winfrey to start day 3 off. What a great pick that was. Cade York followed afterwards from LSU. A kicker. We made a kicker pick. Jerome Ford, running back out of Cincinnati. Michael Woods, wide receiver, the second OU player selected by Andrew Berry, immediately followed up by Isaiah Thomas, edge rusher, also out of Oklahoma, which you got to give Andrew Berry some credit. I don't know if he intentionally trolled the Boomer Sooner fan base, but they don't like the Browns after the disconnect with Baker. And what does he do? He drafts 3 Sooners players, and he wraps it up, by the way, by taking Dawson, Deaton, a center out of Texas Tech with pick number 246. Grade the Browns NFL draft class for me. A, B, C, D, or F. As a whole, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grade every single pick, and I invite you to do that as well in the comments. You can just put Martin Emerson dash, insert letter grade you want to give it. But I'm also going to grade the entire Browns draft class. But this is an opportunity for you guys to get involved early in the show by putting your letter grade for Andrew Berry's 2022 draft class down below. His first pick was Martin Emerson, a corner from Mississippi State. A pick I was rather, if you remember or watched earlier, a bit disagreeing with, right? A bit not on the same page. Now, after he traded Troy Hill to the LA Rams, the pick started to make a little more sense. The scouting report on him has shown flashes of shutdown ability. He's not a slot corner, though. If anything, he's closer to a strong safety than a slot corner. But let's just go down the corner route. What's the end game here for Martin Emerson? I just don't know if you draft someone with your first pick in the NFL draft who has a ceiling of CB3 behind Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. You took corner in the first round last year. You go corner again. I get it. You can never have enough corners. We got the stats for you of what he did in Starkville last year. But for me, it just boils down to, could Martin Emerson be a good player? Yes. I think he could be a fantastic corner in the NFL. That's not where my disconnect is with Andrew Berry. It's, could you have filled a bigger need, though? You know? Could you have gone out and stayed at 44 and picked George Pickens, or got Travis Jones instead and really tightened up that defensive line? Did you need a corner that badly? I don't know. You know, I don't see Martin Emerson having a big impact this season because there's a bit of a bottleneck ahead of him. He's got Ward, Newsome, and Greedy Williams ahead of him. So I give it a C+. I don't think Martin Emerson's a bad player. He may be a very good corner, but he is entering a very crowded cornerback defensive back room. And granted, you can never have enough DBs in the NFL. I'm not against that here. To me, it really just comes down to, could you have selected someone here who would have a bigger impact this season? I think the answer is yes. And I think the Browns are trying to win a Super Bowl this year, not necessarily have your first pick be a pick for the future. Speaking of the future, I like this future pick. Alex Wright, 78th overall out of UAB. This is an awesome athletic defensive end, and I think the hope is he's going to be the longtime partner of Myles Garrett. 6'6", 6 sacks last season for the Dragons, a forced fumble. Scouting report on Alex Wright. I'll let you guys read the notes here. I think the biggest takeaway is what the last note says. Production doesn't match the physical tools. When you watch him play, you're like, this guy's got everything. He's got the size, he's got the strength, and he's got the speed. Very difficult to get all 3 of those at a time. Usually you get 2 of the 3. Alex Wright's got all of them. So can we find a way to get him to develop quicker as a pass rusher? Because he's not necessarily week 1 ready to start opposite of Myles Garrett. But I think obvious passing situations, he can come in, he can spell Chase Winovich, he can take Jadeveon Clowney out if Clowney does return this season. I give this pick a B-. I like Alex Wright a lot as a player. I think he's got a fantastic ceiling. I'm excited to see what he does for the Browns when he grows into that role. Listen, the Browns were never going to have smash draft picks, or, we'll eat my words later. They weren't going to have fabulous draft picks because the draft for Cleveland this year was Deshaun Watson. That was your draft. When you trade away your first-round pick, 13th overall for a player, that's your draft pick. So Deshaun Watson gets an A+ in my grade book, and so B- seems about fair for me. Make sure you guys are subscribed, by the way, to the channel here. We're almost at 8K. I think right as we started filming, we may have crossed over 8,000. So we're on to 9,000 now. Hit that big red button if you're looking for a spot to get free Browns content all year long. You found the #1 spot to do it on the tube. Hit that big red button and join the channel for the #1 Browns draft coverage. Actually, moving on from draft coverage here, draft grade coverage right now. As we talk about David Bell, wide receiver from Purdue. I like this pick a ton. Bell fell a lot during the NFL draft process because of his measurements and his times at the combine, which were not very good. You peek the scouting report here, very productive for Purdue. If you look at the stats, we can get those up too. He did a lot of fantastic things for the Boilermakers. Now, he also reminds me of Jarvis Landry a little bit. He works out of the slot, but he's not that speed demon slot receiver you think of. He's the, hey, it's 3rd and 7, I need a first down, where should I go? Go to David Bell. He'll find a way to get open. He'll find a way to make the tough catch, and he'll pick up the first down as well. 1,200 yards last season in West Lafayette, 6 touchdowns to go along with it. But what I like a lot about this pick is it's not like a one season worth of notes where he really only has 1 year of it being a true starter. He had been very productive for Purdue years going into this season. So I like this move by Andrew Berry. Thought he might go George Pickens at 44 or another wide receiver like Sky Moore or Christian Watson was picked before him. But ultimately, I like the idea of David Bell at the Browns number 99 pick. I give this one a B. I can't give out A's for every single pick here. So to me, Bell, 99, sounds like a B to me. C's average, well above average. It's not a slam dunk home run, how did this guy fall to as A++ type of pick. But I think it's a very good pick, and I think he's going to be a good wide receiver for the Browns in 2022. I want to pose this question to you guys watching. What was your favorite pick made by the Browns? Something tells me it may be the next one. And that was my favorite. Spoiler alert. But let me know in the comment section. Maybe you're really high in Martin Emerson or David Bell. Let me know who your favorite pick was down below. For me, it's Perrion Winfrey. Picked 108. Who remembers taking him at 44 in mock drafts? I do. Producer Jeff, he's got his hand up. All of a sudden, he's on the clock. He's available at 108 in day 3. Home run pick by Andrew Berry. The scouting notes on this guy, pretty dang good. Was awesome in the Senior Bowl. A little undersized to be your nose tackle. He's south of 300 pounds. Good height, 6'3". Love his quickness. Love his burst. You just got to get him to bring it every single down. That's why he didn't go a little earlier in the draft, and the size doesn't necessarily help a ton, but I love this pick here. Love what he did last season at OU. Here's how you know he's a good player. When you think of the Big 12, the last thing you think of is defense. But this year, Oklahoma was actually really good at defense, in part because of Perrion Winfrey. That's why I give it an A+ grade. A++. I love the Perrion Winfrey pick. I mean, to get him at 108, when we were talking about drafting him at 44, I mean, everyone was panicking when Barry moved back from 44. It's like, well, now we can't get Winfrey. And then everyone was like, can we trade up to get Winfrey? Can we trade up to get Winfrey? And Barry stays the course, stays calm, and he gets him at 108. Bravo to you, Andrew. Next guy up, Cade York. Love this one. Love Cade York. Love going kicker. You saw the Bengals do it last year. Worked out pretty well for them. Evan McPherson may be the reason why Cincinnati made the Super Bowl. All right? I like the idea of, hey, we don't have to, we could go get a tackle, a guard, a depth piece, another corner here. But instead, how about we go out and get someone who can be an immediate contributor like Cade York, who can help us win football games and not have our entire fan base sitting on the edge of their seat every single time our kicker trots onto the field. I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself here with Cade York, but I love the idea of having some confidence in your kicker and not wondering, oh boy, here we go again. I want this to be the next Browns kicker of a lifetime. So I give this an A pick. 124, maybe a bit early for a kicker. I get that. But hey, you saw the Bengals do it with McPherson last year. It hasn't always worked out when you draft kickers. The Bucs did it a couple years ago in the second round with Aguero out of Florida State. That sucked. Never forget when the Raiders went round one kicker. That was comically hilarious. But I like the pick a lot. Jerome Ford is the Browns' next draft selection. In round 5, they go running back from Cincinnati. Guy had 19 touchdowns last year. To find someone who had 19 touchdowns in round 5, you kind of like that. Now, does Cleveland need a running back? Not necessarily. I don't think it's the top of the priority list, but Andrew Berry's going best player here, and I love best player. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. Big fan of going best player because you try and think about what is the Browns' biggest needs with a combination of who is really good at football that's still on the board. That's Jerome Ford. He's also been compared to a Kareem Hunt, who's entering the last year of his contract. So is this a pick for the future? Kind of makes you wonder that, makes you think, oh, maybe Barry's thinking one step ahead here by going Jerome Ford. I give this pick a C+. This isn't me being critical of the pick, but it's not like Jerome Ford was a top running back that fell super far. So C+ above average. He's going to be the 4th running back on the depth chart. Curious what it means for Demetric Felton. So C+ above average grade. We'll see if he can turn into anything once Kareem Hunt's contract's up in 2023. Trying to be a tiny bit critical of Andrew Berry because I think he's done a fantastic job, as we all should think that. Not to brainwash everyone to be like, he's our saving grace, he can do no wrong. GMs, no matter how good they are, or even coaches or players, they have their miss-ups. So what do you think Andrew Berry's biggest miss was? Maybe it is moving back from 44. If George Pickens turns out to be a top receiver in this draft class, that'll be a discussion for years to come, especially because he ends up in Pittsburgh. So I really don't want that to haunt us later on to go, we could have had Pickens at 44, but we traded back to get a corner when we were already pretty good at corner, and now Pickens toasts us twice a season. F. Yeah. All right, let's get on to the next Browns draft selection here. Cleveland, they go defensive. This is the wide receiver, Michael Woods, in round number 6 from Oklahoma. And the troll job is on full scale here. I mean, OU fans did not like the Browns because they think Baker Mayfield is the second coming of Jesus Christ and he can do no wrong. So the fact that he could be held accountable whatsoever was blasphemy in Norman. And what does Andrew Berry do? He drafts not 1, not 2, but 3 Sooners to make Oklahoma continue watch Cleveland football. I do give this grade a D, not to be a bit of a party pooper. It is round 6. You can't have a bad pick usually in round 6 or round 7. But I'm not really that high on Michael Woods altogether just as a player. Last year in Oklahoma, after transferring from Arkansas, 400 yards, 400 touchdowns would be awesome. 2 scores. I just don't think he's going to be that great of a player. Sorry, Michael, if you're watching. Wish the best for you, but I just don't think this was the best pick out there. Isaiah Thomas, back-to-back Oklahoma picks here for Berry, who said, by the way, in his press conference that he didn't really realize that. He was just picking good players. So if Michael Woods is a good player, I'll default to Aaron DeBerry. Probably knows a thing or two more about football than I do. 8 sacks last year. You check out the scouting report on this guy. Here's what I'm thinking. Round 6, round 7. I like the idea of just drafting positions of need, throwing more darts at that dartboard, right? Trying to have one of those guys hit. I give it a C+, though. 223. C is average, a little bit above average because you need edge rushing help. So why not throw some more darts, try to get one of them to hit to pair up with Myles Garrett. It's round 7, guys. You can't have a bad pick in round 7. They just don't exist. Sorry. Not sorry. It's round 7. What are you expecting from these players? Don't have too high of expectations. And to wrap up Barry's 2022 NFL draft class, Dawson Deaton, center out of Texas Tech. I'm now thinking about, so what does the Browns need? Well, you did lose J.C. Treader this offseason. Why not add an extra center to the mix to get the best out of Nick Harris or Ethan Posick to get the highest level of play? You know, have some competition, bring out the best in everyone. So I give it a C grade. It's average. I don't think it's anything crazy. You know, I don't think it's anything you're gonna have your mouth water over. But ultimately, I think it's a middle of the road pick here. It's round 7. What do you want me to say about this? So I'm gonna give you my final Browns draft grade in just a moment. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. That way you can stay in the know on everything related to the Cleveland Browns here. I'm going to keep you guys waiting pins and needles to get that draft grade. So make sure you guys don't miss a single thing here on the Cleveland Browns Report. And finally, I give the Browns as a whole a B grade. I think that's pretty fair too, because the Browns were never supposed to have a super exciting draft. They lost a lot of picks to get Deshaun Watson. That was 70% of their draft right there. You lost your first round pick. You're traded out of round 2. You don't pick until round 3. You're not going to get superstar talent, but to get Perrion Winfrey in round 4, hopefully Martin Emerson does turn out to be a good contributor. I like David Bell a lot. I think B's about fair. It's not an A+ because you didn't have a top 5 pick. That's where those A+ go. But for Cleveland to get some good quality players without picking in the first 2 rounds and pick up some draft capital, yeah, I like that move as a whole. So I give it a B. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch up with you tomorrow where we will break down every undrafted free agent signing that happened after the NFL draft. So stay tuned for that. Until then, go Brownies.